Can you be born with a handicap? That's where I want to go with this thought. Last night, I get the joy and the honor of speaking once a month at a group called Celebrate Recovery. It's a joy to do that, honor to do that. Well, last night I asked those that were there at Celebrate Recovery, put your hand up, and they all put their hand up. No, wait till I ask you the question. If you think being born blind is a handicap, put your hand up. How about deaf? Put your hand up. And they all put their hand up. How about not being able to talk? They put their hand up. How about if you can't hear or see or speak? Put your hand up. And what if you were born? Oh, I just got to get this real quick. What if you were born with no arms and no legs? Would that be a handicap? Yeah, of course it would. My gosh. I hope someday you either read the book or Google Helen Keller. Hear her story. Fantastic. She was, and the Miracle Worker is a book about this too. Oh, she was born that where she couldn't hear, see, or talk. And oh, what an awesome woman she became. And by the way, there's a guy named Nick, and let me spell his last name. I goof up on saying it. Vujicic. And I said, there's a guy named Nick, that last name. And you could Google him. Because he was born with no arms and no legs. And what an inspirational seeker he is. I mean, phenomenal. I think if you asked either one of them, were you born with a handicap? They would say, no. Then why does God have, when people are born, people that can't see, can't hear, whatever? Are they born with a handicap? Well, I got an answer for that. And if you have your Bibles, but it's just a John chapter 9. I just want to read verses 1 through 3. Now, Jesus passed by. He saw a man who was blind from birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? God, that's what they believe. He must have done something wrong. He sinned, or there's a curse in his family. And Jesus said, neither this man nor his parents sinned, but that's the work of God, that the work of God should be revealed in him. I'll stop right there. Now you can go on. Yes, Jesus heals him, but that's why he was born that way, so the work of God could be revealed in him. Isn't that phenomenal? That's fantastic. Oh, I got to give you two other examples of this. And one is this TV series that Gil and I really like watching. It's called Sue Thomas, FBI. And by the way, there really was a Sue Thomas. Google her. And she did work for the FBI. And she lost her hearing when she was 18 months. And so they asked her to be a consultant. And so she said, sure, yes, you can. But I want the person who's going to play me needs to be deaf. And of course she was. And I didn't know there was a deaf, you hear about seeing eye dogs, but they're deaf dogs too. I mean, that help them hear. I mean, think of that. You're a deaf person and the doorbell rings. You can't hear it. Well, the dog would kind of jump up and get your attention, or the phone rings or whatever. Yeah. So, and Sue Thomas was a consultant on that. She just said, yeah, I want her to be blonde and thin. That's it. And the gal that plays Sue Thomas, she is deaf. And she married her. That's quite a story about her. Well, one time Sue Thomas was asked, the real Sue Thomas, do you believe God, when you were born deaf, were you mad at God? I mean, you were born, you could hear, then you lost your hearing. Were you mad at God? And she's, no, this is how God meant me to be. This is how God created me so I could show his glory. Wow. Isn't that awesome? Now, one more example. I had the great joy of working in a camp off and on. And for 8 or 9 years, one week out of the summer, we had a camp. Now we call Camp for Special Ed, but back then, dumb name, but we called it Camp for the Mentally Retarded. Ugh, didn't even like the name back then. And I would spend I remember the first week, Rita, who was the big boss, and then later I took over the program. She said, when you see these kids, first you're going to be somewhat put back. That's okay. That won't last long. And as soon as they go off the bus, they come, oh, you're my counselor. And they come and hug you and all this stuff. I go, and then you're going to feel sorry for them. You got to get beyond that. Because as long as you feel sorry for them, you're not going to be blessed by them. And by the way, I'd share that with counselors too on the training. If you're going to be feeling sorry, you won't be blessed by them. Oh, that week, I got over the feeling sorry for them. And I got to tell you, I was blessed. The way they loved one another unconditionally. That next year, the second year I had a speech major. I was on the speech team. And my speech that year was, who are the mentally retarded in our world? And I talked about the camp and how loving they were. And then I said, when you compare their world with our world, which world is really retarded? That's how I ended this. But I got to tell you something. I think God created us all for a purpose. He didn't create us with a handicap. He didn't create us with a disability. We were created to give him glory. I believe I was created, God created me to be ADHD, which some people think is a bad thing. I don't, you know. God created us for a purpose. So if you have a relationship with Jesus and you know your purpose, good, do it. If you have a relationship with Jesus and you don't know your purpose, find your purpose and then do it. Because when we do it, I got to tell you, we are blessed. Well, we're blessed to be a blessing, but we are blessed. And we experience what Jesus said. He's come to give us life and he wants us to have it more abundantly. Abundant doesn't always mean happy. I think abundant does mean passion. You know, there are times I am not happy, but I still have passion in my life, even wave walking. So does God create handicaps when people are born? No. He created us to give him glory. Find out what God created you to be and do it, and you will be blessed.